get your boyfriends to eat meat, otherwise you'll never be able to get an erection.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. It is walking day once again, and this is a much anticipated walk requested by a lot of you because I'm here on Hampstead Heath with Thogdad.
Hey, how we all doing?
Excited?
It's brilliant, mate. You know what? It's brilliant to actually talk to you for once.
Thank you. Yeah,
because our paths keep crossing, don't they?
Yeah.
Like we played football together the other day.
Yeah, you were just leaving as we were arriving.
Yeah, so I've sort of shaken your hand 3 or 4 times, and today we can have a proper chat, can't we?
And a lovely little stroll
Yeah.
and explore in your neck of the woods.
Absolutely, mate.
Let's get walking.
Heath.
Let's do it. A lot of dogs around, aren't there?
There are, yeah. It's funny, Thog Mum hates the dogs, but I adore them. So we go up to Lancaster, and my mum has got these 2 beautiful dogs, including a border collie called Thogdad. And Thogdad has got 10,000 followers on Instagram. Of course, you know, everything's got to be about social media. I love dogs, but it's just, I don't know, here in London, it's just impractical to have a dog. Have you got a dog, Robbie?
No, but we're talking about getting some kind of animal pet thing at some point, but when we move, we're in a rental place at the minute, so when we move eventually probably will, but I
mean, are you a cat man or a dog man or a...
I'm open to both ideas. Dogs overall, but cats are a bit more low maintenance, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Themselves.
I mean, I'd love to live up there, and let's say on the Norfolk coast, have a couple of big dogs and like walk them every day on the beach, you know.
We used to have an old English sheepdog.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about Hampstead Heath.
Oh mate, it's lovely, as you can see, and this was, for me, I don't know, I came here every day during lockdown. I mean, life changed, didn't it, over the last couple of years, and me and Thog Mum would just come out for these 10-kilometre walks through this beautiful scenery up to Highgate, and it was a lifesaver, to be quite honest.
It's enormous, isn't it?
It's enormous. I think it's the biggest green space in London.
Is it?
And there's just something tranquil about it. You don't know that you're in the centre of, you know,
you can't see a building here.
You can't.
And you can sort of hear that you're in London because there's a distant hum of whatever, but not really. But it just looks like you could be in a country park anywhere, couldn't you?
Mate, it's glorious, and you can see 5 or 6 dogs. You've got runners. It's immense. We're, you know, very lucky to live around here.
Do you do a lot of walking?
Yes, I love walking, and especially for you, Robbie. I put the bracer boots on.
Do you know what?
And I've seen you wearing some trendy sneakers.
I've made a terrible decision. Do you know, I was thinking Hampstead we'll be on paths and that. But I've not thought we're gonna detour.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was more because I did happy. I guess I sort of stayed down, so I didn't pack 2 bags and that. But yeah, I do like a walking.
Yeah, no, looking good, but no, I've put the old braces, and I've had these for about 30 years.
Wonderful.
And, you know, I love serious walking. I think if we weren't, you know, football vloggers, I think my Saturdays would be spent up in Scotland, up in the Lake District. I mean, my dad lives in the Lake District.
We went...
near Cartmel. And what he can do, he's 80 years old, but he'll walk out his front door and go for a walk on the fells for half the day with his flask and his sarnies, you know.
That's amazing.
And it's brilliant. You like your walking, don't you?
I do. We were up in Scotland. My family are all from Scotland. We were up there a few 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. I went to Lochboyle Head, I think it was. And I just went for a walk on my own. It was quite wet. No one else could bother to go out, so I just went for a little walk. Just go out for like 20 minutes, and you're seeing deer just roaming around and stunning.
I mean, I tell you, Scotland, I mean, I went walking to, you know, Munro is over 3,000 feet, and we once went to the northwest of Scotland, to Torridon, and we did like 4 or 5 Munros in 5 days, and I didn't realise that our country, well, the UK, is so beautiful. It's so remote. It's one of the most remote parts of the country up there.
Have you been to, what's it called? What's the, Glencoe? Have you been to Glencoe?
Yes, I have. On a different... Yes.
Unbelievable.
Sensational.
It's so bleak. And,
I know.
And it's like nowhere else I've seen in Britain until you first go there. Like, wow, that's incredible. And we went in the winter. It was like the first, when I met my wife, it was like the first holiday we sort of went away anywhere, really. And we just went for a few days, a long weekend. And it was just the rain coming down. And there was a sign, it was like a sort of walker's bar. There was a sign, like the weather forecast had been printed out on the wall. And it was saying, under no circumstances should anyone go up the hill. There's a severe danger of death.
Yes.
I was thinking, there's not many people at place in Britain where there's a severe danger of death if you go outside.
I tell you what, so some of my family used to live near Saddleworth Moor, which of course is known for the wrong reasons for what went on back in the day. You've got to be careful there. Walking up there, when the mists come in, people go missing. You know, they think, we'll just go for a nice walk on these moors, and, you know, you make a mistake. Same in the Lake District. If, you know, when the mist comes down, you could walk off the end of a ridge.
Yeah.
So you've got to be careful, but no, I love my walking, I love Scotland. It's interesting that your family's all from Scotland? Or?
Yeah, so sort of West Coast, Glasgow, sort of Dumbarton way, that sort of area, and going further back, Hebrides, South Uist, and all that sort of stuff. So we go up, when I was a kid, we'd go up there 3 or 4 times a year, sort of thing, and so a lot of holidays were spent going to watch either Partick Thistle or Motherwell, just random Scottish football games,
lucky
and stuff,
you,
and stuff like that. Dumbarton, who at the time I remember thinking I could probably get a game here. I'm sure the standard's gone up now, but
I mean, we used to have almost all of our family holidays in Scotland.
Did you?
And mainly like the Kintyre Peninsula.
Okay.
You know, Mull of Kintyre. You know, Paul McCartney I think once sang about it. And like up in Perthshire and up on the north coast. And I think that's what's given me sort of a lifelong love of Scotland. And we go, and I don't know, a lot of our vlogs are Glasgow Rangers, Glasgow Celtic, Hearts and Hibs, and it's not about the football, no disrespect. It's about the people who I just find, I get them, you know, just brilliant, just love life. A bit bonkers, you know.
I love how you guys are so into meeting people and going places. I think I found the hardest thing with lockdown. I don't think it's been particularly hard on me, particularly a lot of people have been in a much worse state, but I found the not being able to travel places is the hardest bit, because I love just going to a new city and just sitting at a bar and chatting to people.
Me too. And I can see that from your work, from your channel, that you're a people person. And I suppose we were lucky during lockdown. Theo and I, Thog Mum, Thog Sis, you know, we had each other. We were all together, stuck together in a big apartment, and we spent more time talking to each other. And we cooked meals, opened a couple of bottles of wine, and just get to know each other. That sounds silly, you know. But we were lucky in that respect. I feel really sorry, as I said earlier, for anyone who's stuck by themselves in an apartment and not able to see someone.
It's like thinking back, even now, I haven't really thought about it. I remember during the first lockdown, my youngest son, he was 4, he would have been 3 at the time, probably, So my sons would have been 3 and 6. And they'd sort of been independent for, and then they became like sort of best friends during that sort of thing. And it's changed everything in a lot of ways, obviously badly, but it's been a lot of good comfort as well. You've travelled around quite a lot.
I've travelled an awful lot, and I've lived in a short time in Australia, the States, and Russia. I lived for about 8 years in Russia. So at sort of heart, I'm kind of nomadic, you know, and I love actually, I've not done it recently for obvious reasons, but I love putting on a backpack and going off to somewhere like Myanmar or somewhere, Sri Lanka, India, and just going. Okay, I might have the Lonely Planet guide hidden in a back pocket, you know. But apart from that, I'll do it by myself, or if the kids want to come along. I just love that, the adventure you're going to have, the people you're going to meet, the temples you're going to see, you know what I mean?
Are you a Lonely Planet or a Rough Guide, man?
Lonely Planet.
I'm Team Rough Guide.
I'm sorry, mate.
It's okay, we're fine. We can find peace between this.
And I don't think we can, actually.
Can't you? Okay, go on. What's your reasoning?
No, Southeast Asia on a shoestring. So when I finished college, university, I was 21, and all I wanted to do was take a gap year. But that's in the days when it wasn't a gap year, you know. It was something. It meant something more 30 years ago. Because less people were doing it. So, put on the backpack. I bought Southeast Asia on a shoestring, and once I'd finished in Australia, I had that as my Bible. And something called the Indonesia Handbook, which is this 1,100-page book about Indonesia, which was sensational. And just spent a year in total, just travelling around the world, Southeast Asia, Australia and India, and it was life-changing.
It is doing things, and that's why I encourage anyone to travel, any young person who's got the time when you haven't got family things. And one of the things that attracts me to YouTube is the fact that if you're doing things and you're independent of location, you can do things. So my thoughts are that in the future, it might be that one summer holidays, I take the kids to Croatia or the Czech Republic or somewhere and just go to a random place I've not been to before and just spend a few weeks there with them exploring a place, and you can make videos from wherever you are.
You can't. I think that's brilliant. I think if I wasn't, I've sort of become a football YouTuber through my son, you know, if I was doing something by myself, independent, it would be travel.
Yeah.
It would be a bloke my age just travelling around the world with a backpack.
Is there anywhere you've never been that you'd love to go to?
I've never been to South America, amazingly. And I don't know why, so I'd love to spend some proper time. Argentina, Brazil, Peru, Chile, no, South America, full stop. I've probably been to about 25 African countries, but I'd like to go back and spend proper time, perhaps do like an overland trip, buy a second-hand Land Rover or something, and just go through to as many African countries as.
That would be amazing. I've not been, other than Egypt, really. I've not been into sort of sub-Saharan Africa or anything like that.
It's rewarding. It's difficult at times, but it's, I feel truly alive when I'm in Nigeria or Rwanda. I just feel truly alive the moment I land. I think things are going to be a bit daft out here, colourful, funny, and I love it. And I think more of us should, take our dollars and go to that continent and explore it more.
Yeah.
Rwanda's one of my favourite countries in the world.
Is it? So, because Rwanda, when I think of Rwanda, there's obviously like the history it's had, the genocide. But how is it as a country now? Because I know nothing about it.
It's one of the safest places you'll ever go to.
Is it?
Yeah. Let's say you went out, had a few beers, fell asleep on this park bench in Rwanda with your wallet, with your phone. Nothing would be touched. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, the crime levels are near zero. It's a beautiful country, loads of hills, great for walking. Loads of national parks.
Yeah.
You've got to pay big coin to see the gorillas, but there's the Gorillas National Park.
Yeah.
People are great. I mean, it's hard to comprehend that in '94 there was this genocide where they were butchering each other. You know, when a tenth of the population was wiped out. It's hard to reconcile that with present day Rwanda, which is safe and.
Because it does seem
beautiful.
Like not that long ago. I know it is now, aside from my age, but
honestly, it's 28 years ago. But you can't forget that. I mean, a shocking chapter in world history. And how we abandoned them to their fate. Truly
I went to a wedding once in Romania, and that had a similar sort of memories of Ceausescu and all that sort of stuff. Had a similar sort of feeling that's always there in the background, that you sort of remember that time.
And I tell you, we spend a lot of time. We have a holiday house in Montenegro, so we go to the former Yugoslavia a lot, and it's beautiful down there. I mean, you talked about Croatia. It's a glorious country, but sometimes a Serb or a Croat or a Bosnian will say something, and you'll think, whoa, things are still just below the surface in terms of what you feel about each other, shall we say?
Yeah.
And we need to monitor that one carefully. You know what I mean? As Europe, shall we say?
Yeah, I remember I've not done much travelling around Eastern Europe, but I'd love to do more. And I was going to Croatia just for a couple of days for a business thing. And I'd never been. And the day before I was in London and I was getting an Uber somewhere. The driver was Eastern European, I can't remember where from. And I said, I'm going to Croatia tomorrow. And he said, you'll love it. He said, fourth most beautiful women in Eastern Europe. Yeah. And I was like, there's a chart. So I said, what's the top four? He said, well, that's fourth. He said like Lithuania and Latvia. He said were second and third. Right. I can't remember which way round they were. But he said by a mile. Belarus.
Yes. And I've heard other people say that.
But I met another guy once in a bar who was talking just randomly about. I can't remember what he was talking about. And he was talking about women in different countries, and he said as well. He said, obviously Belarus is the best. I go to the second person that said that.
Yeah. No, I was very lucky. I spent a lot of my 20s and early 30s living in Russia.
Yes.
And there's just glorious women out there, and my wife is Russian. Of
course, yes. We definitely need to have a top five Thogdad's top five countries.
I know. That would get clipped, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That's definitely going to be the title now.
No, But no, Russia's way up there.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. There is something. That's that Slavonic beauty, I think.
Yeah. Do you know what? I found a country of very beautiful people around, men and women.
Yeah.
Portugal.
Right.
Like I found everyone in Portugal very pretty.
Yeah.
Even larger people. I thought you're beautiful. So there's a real mix of everyone. I thought everyone in Portugal was lovely because I thought everyone was going to look exactly the same as Spain for some reason.
Right.
I found it very different. Yeah.
And that's a glorious country as well.
It's a brilliant country. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of it's just that's a country I could live in. In terms of it's just the culture, the food, the wine, the people. There's something nice about the people, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
You
there
said
is.
beautiful. There's something pleasant about being there.
Just smiling and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I went to the first time I went there. I went to Lisbon. We spent a night in Lisbon before going down to the Algarve, and with a couple of friends. And there was a sardine festival on.
What's that?
And everywhere we went, there were just people like serving sardines. I never eat
Brilliant.
sardines normally, but I'm going, oh, I'll have 3,000 sardines today.
Yeah,
just going around trying everything.
Brilliant.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I've been to, you mentioned South America, I've been to Brazil once. It was like the year before the World Cup to make a video for a World Cup sponsor type thing. And so I was in Rio, and that was unbelievable. Seeing like we were doing filming on Copacabana, we were filming overlooking the Maracanã, and all this sort of stuff. And it was unbelievable being there. But it did have, I never had any trouble. I felt final time, but there was an underlying sense of crime everywhere.
Yes.
To the fact that we went to get some money out of the bank of an evening where I went to the bank machine, couldn't get any money out. I went back to the Brazilian guy I was with and said, I couldn't get any money out of the bank. He said, I know all the cash machines shut at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Because like not the banks, the actual just the machine shut.
Right.
People rob people.
Oh no.
So and there was a lot of that sort of stuff. But it was a brilliant country. I'd love to go back. I'd love to go to Argentina.
Do you speak any Spanish then? Or?
No, I don't know. I did GCSE French, so that's about it. I'd love to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
I think that's the best language to learn.
I think so too. I think that's what puts me off going there a little bit. Is that, for instance, the nearest I've come to South America is Costa Rica.
I've done Costa Rica.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place.
It's absolutely astonishing. And I went there, and it was meant to be a business trip, and my mate said, look, I want you to look at a factory in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And I got my ticket, and I flew out there, and he's like, oh, sorry, mate, I can't make it, I thought, well, I'm here for a week. So I rented a little four-wheel drive, of course, don't speak a word of Spanish, got an old-style map, and just hit the road. And amazing. Everywhere you go, you're seeing these brightly coloured birds, will come and sit, 5 metres away from you, toucans and what have you. The beaches, the forest, the mountains, truly astonishing.
I did like a 2-week sort of like backpacker trip where we were on a bus going around Costa Rica, just travelling around and sleeping on the bus, on just mattresses and stuff like that. And it's funny, but like something like 25% of the country's a national park.
Yes.
They've got no army because they're kind of like, everyone loves Costa Rica.
I know.
We're friends with our neighbours, just get rid of the army. And it was just the most amazing place, again, for the wildlife. I got stung by a scorpion when I was there.
Did you? Oh my goodness.
But I thought, oh, if you get stung by a scorpion, you die. But it turns out it's like spiders, there's loads of different scorpions.
Yeah, there are.
And it doesn't really matter much. So I just walk along and just thought, I had like flip-flops on. And I just saw this thing scuttling off.
No way. So when I'm gardening, a different country here, but in Montenegro, I love my garden. I love pottering around in the garden. And you get these little snakes, and you get the little scorpions, but they're little ones. And if they bite you, have a little red mark. But you get used to them, so I'm doing my gardening and there's like a tortoise there and a hedgehog and a couple of snakes, and you start to give them names after a while, but it's brilliant. I love all that. I love wildlife.
What's Montenegro like? I imagine, like you say, hilly. I've always thought like hilly, green, lush, and pretty.
Yeah, I mean it's named Chernogora, means Black Mountain, and most of it's a national park, and most tourists you go to the coastline, which is spectacular.
Yeah.
So you get your great seafood, and you've got these old Venetian towns like Kotor, which are beautiful. It looks like like being in Italy, really.
Yeah.
And then you get up into the mountains, and there's canyons. I think there's the second deepest canyon in the world after the Grand Canyon.
Oh, really?
It's called the Tara Gorge. So this time of year, when it's rained, you can go rafting, and the walking is brilliant. It's a spectacular country, and hardly anyone lives there.
And you need to spin off Thogdad's travel channel, don't you?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Right, I'll come.
That would be absolutely, mate.
Right.
First guest.
We need to get a TV show. That's what we need.
We do, don't we?
Get onto it, TV people.
Go out there, drink some beers.
Yeah.
Backpack around.
Okay.
Talk to people.
That's my new purpose.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right,
Sign me
amazing.
up.
Let's do some more walking.
Yeah.
Did you go to university, Thogdad?
I did. I went to Durham University up there in the northeast.
Very nice.
Back in the day, studied politics and economics, same as you, economics.
Did economics? Yeah, economics, yeah. So
You were at Norwich, weren't you?
I was at UEA, did economics. I didn't particularly, I got a degree, but I didn't particularly work hard. I think I probably knew, I knew more by the end of it about specific areas of economics, but overall I think I probably had a better understanding of economics at A-level than by the end of my 3-year degree course. Because I never really I wanted to go to uni.
Yeah.
And I liked doing economics and quite like it as a subject. I found it interesting, but I didn't have a desire to go into banking or be an economist or anything like that.
I mean, with me really, I went to Lancaster Grammar School. I went to a state grammar school, and it was just assumed I'd go to uni.
Yeah.
And it was like my dad was the first person in his family ever to go to uni.
Yeah.
So we come from this family in Oldham, Mossley, who used to be butchers and shop workers and what have you. So it was massive that my dad went to uni. It was always assumed that I'd go. I didn't really give it much thought. I just couldn't say I'm not going. And it was life-changing in terms of the people that I met, in terms of getting the degree, in terms of being independent, played loads of football, drank loads of, as we all do.
Yeah, we've done
But these days, I mean, there's this debate going on, because Theo left school at 18, he's doing his YouTube thing, but his mum is screaming for him to go back to uni. So should we be telling our kids, you must go, or does it depend on the kid? Or
I don't know. I think it's very different now, because when I went, it was free, and in fact, I remember I used to get, certainly my first couple of years, I used to get a grant. You get paid to go because we had a lower, for a lower income family. So you get given some money.
You did,
to go along, and then now, and it seems a bit harsh to then tell people now, oh, you should be going when they have to pay.
I think it's very harsh. I tell you what, so my daughter Seema's up at Edinburgh University at the moment doing psychology, and she was talking about, Dad, how do I apply for a loan? I said, there's no chance. I said, look, I'm paying for this.
Yeah.
I'm your dad. I can afford. I'm lucky that I can afford to. But otherwise, she'd be in tens of thousands of debt.
Yeah.
For the next 10, 20 years, it's
more like it was almost like sort of no-brainer sort of thing. If you got into uni and you wanted to go, it was you might as well go and do it and experience all these things and have like a sort of on-ramp to adult life, if you will, sort of thing. Whereas now, I think, well, if you are going to spend tens of thousands, could you get the same thing by going travelling, the same sort of experiences by just going and seeing the world?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I was saying earlier, I think for me it's a case of, if one day Theo comes to me and says, Dad, I really want to go to uni, I want to study this subject, I'll spend a few hours a week in the library, but I really want this degree, I'd welcome it. But if it was just ticking a box, I think it's pointless.
Yeah.
I think you've really got to want to go to uni, and you've really got to enjoy the subject.
I think as well, uni is, because now I think if I went to uni now, I'd do a lot more studying than I did.
Yeah.
I think what they should do with uni is they should split it up a bit. It should be 4 years, but you do 2 years when you're 18, and you do 2 years when you're 30.
Yeah.
So you sort of get your first bit of your degree, you live your life, and then you go back when you actually are going to do some work.
I tell you what, my mum was pregnant with me when she was a late teenager, married young, which was you did in the late 60s, She went to uni in her mid-40s and decided, right now I want to study, I want to become a social worker. And she got a first-class degree in social work from Lancaster Uni in her 40s, which is brilliant, I thought. And she really wanted to study that subject. And she really enjoyed it, and she got more out of it than any sort of 19-year-old kid would.
Yeah.
I think that's sensational.
Yeah.
The idea of being a mature student.
My brother did a master's in his 30s in linguistics, and I think he enjoyed doing that because, again, he did economics at uni, and I think he then, now it's like now you actually are studying something because you want to learn or get educated. I do think maybe I'd go back to uni at some point, but I don't know what I'd study. I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah, I know what I'd do, because back in the day I was terrible at languages.
Okay.
And I don't know why, I just had a mental block on it, like a confidence, when it came to French and what have you. Then I lived in Russia, and I speak passable Russian, and it's wonderful to speak a second language. Yeah. So I think if I went back to uni, I wouldn't go back to uni. What I'd do is I'd go somewhere like Spain or Brazil or Mexico, or Brazil would be Portuguese, of course. So Mexico or Argentina, and learn Spanish. Yeah. That's what I do. That's what I really miss, is a third language that I can speak to fluency level.
That would be good. Yeah, Spanish is the one I'd pick, definitely.
Spanish, and I've got a mate who's doing a similar thing. He just decided he loves Spain, loves the Spanish women. He's gone down to Barcelona, and he's living his life in Barcelona and mastering Spanish.
When I worked at Soccer AM, my mum did all her shopping at Tesco's and got loads of club card points, and you could swap them for air miles at the time. and it was at a time where you didn't have to pay anything for the flight, so you weren't paying like tax or anything like you do now. It was completely free, these flights, and she had endless flights. Wasn't going anywhere. She said, "Oh, you can have them." And I had friends out in Barcelona, and I was going every other weekend. I would finish soccer game at midday.
Yeah.
I'd jump in a taxi to the airport. I'd get a flight about 1:30 from Heathrow to Barcelona, and I'd be by like 5 o'clock. I'd be in Barcelona.
Amazing.
And then I'd go there. I'd go spend a few days there. Tuesday morning when we came back to work, start work at 10. Tuesday morning for a meeting. I'd basically get up at like 5 in the morning in Barcelona, get a flight to Heathrow, jump in a taxi, and be there at work on Tuesday. And I did that every other week for months.
Yeah.
And in the summer I was there for a bit as well, to the point that where some of the people I knew in Barcelona, they'd be talking to my friends out there, and this midweek on like a Thursday, they'd be going out and say, "Oh, we should see if Robbie's around tonight." I went, "Oh no, he's in London." They're saying, "What's he doing there?" I go, "He lives there." They go, "He doesn't live here."
Amazing.
And I do remember thinking at the time, I thought, could I get away with living in Barcelona, getting a hovel of a flat in London, that I could stay there for 4 nights a week or something like that, and just flying in and out? The answer is no. It's exactly when you look into it.
I know. But I love the idea, and if I did it, I'd do it properly. You know, it's like Madrid. I love Madrid, actually.
Do you know what? I've only been once. I went with Tubes, who I used to work with Soccer. We went there to make a video. We were there for 24 hours. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it, but I didn't see as much of it. I mean, partly because Tubes is alcoholics, so we couldn't go to any bars.
Yeah.
So, So it was more like, let's go look at some meat carving and stuff like that. It was a great day, and I really did love the place.
No, it's a brilliant city. Obviously, it's not. I mean, obviously, Barcelona's got the beach and what have you. What Madrid's got, culturally fantastic. It's amazing for sort of galleries, museums, and all that sort of thing. But it's also got these really hip, really cool areas, and these hipster bars and these, brew pubs and what have you. And you can lose yourself. You just go walking. You choose an area, lose yourself, find a hipster bar if you're not an alcoholic. And I love it. Honestly, love it. The food is spectacular.
Yeah.
But if I would do it properly, I'd get a hovel of an apartment, go out there for a year or two, learn the language, do it proper,
Yeah. When we were there, we did go to some bloke who was like a champion ham slicer.
Really?
He had won the nation's best award for ham slicing. He was doing, and to be fair, he was mint at slicing ham. Yeah. But he was talking us through all the different Iberico hams and all this stuff and all the different what they meant, the different levels of it. And giving it as ham, and I was thinking, that's all just ham. I was going, that is an amazing ham. It was some of the best ham I've ever had. That's the most I've ever said ham in the space of a minute.
That is a lot of ham, isn't it?
A lot of ham.
And you know what? You're hamming it up here, mate. Yeah. But you know what? I'm a vegetarian. Actually, pescatarian. I gave up meat 25 years ago.
Okay.
And I've not looked back. And you're obviously a bit of a carnivore, are you?
Well, not really. I used to be, but I'm trying to eat less meat. My wife's pescatarian, and I did like a month of vegan stuff. I did a video, and because I was thinking I want to eat less meat, I think it's probably better for me to eat less meat. And I found it remarkably easy. Yeah, it was amazing to do. And recently I've just done a couple of weeks of being vegan, of plant-based eating sort of thing for that. So I did that as a sort of reset to try. So I don't eat a huge amount of meat now, really. I will occasionally. I think the thing I'd struggle with would be sushi. Giving that up would be the tough thing, because I love sushi.
But it's funny, because I was living in Russia when I first became a vegetarian. And out there, the concept was certainly 25 years ago, the concept of being a vegetarian, to a Russian mind, it was like, no, that means you're poor, you can't afford meat. Yeah. So there was a couple of occasions, it happened more than once, where I'd go into a restaurant and you'd be asking in Russian for a soup. It's got to be a vegetariansky soup, sort of without any meat in. But sometimes the old lady, she'd take pity on you. She'd think, it's a poor student who can't afford meat. She'd put some ham in. And that was her being kind. I'm not going to charge you for this, love, And there was another time when a serving lady said something to my girlfriend at the time. I said, can you just translate? I didn't understand that. She said, get your boyfriend to eat meat, otherwise he'll never be able to get an erection. That was how Russia viewed vegetarianism 25 years ago. But it's changed now. You go to Moscow or wherever, and you can go to some great vegan vegetarian place. In fact, and I don't know if you know this one, I don't know if I talked about this on Jack's, on the happy hour, but I established the first vegetarian cafe bar in Russia.
Amazing.
That was my first ever business venture. I was 28 years old, and I'd been living in Manhattan, and I just got into the whole pescatarian thing. Yeah. Went back to St. Petersburg, which is a glorious city. If
I'd
you've never
love
been.
to. I've never been to Russia.
Go.
St. Petersburg is the place
Honestly,
I want to go.
We'll come back anyway. So went back to St. Petersburg, and I thought, you know what? There is this weird attitude to vegetarianism, which makes this whole concept completely unique. I'm going to set up a cafe bar, sort of Manhattan-style cafe bar, that serves only, okay, with a couple of exceptions. We had some herring and some red caviar.
Right.
Apart from that, all vegetarian Russian food. And it was an enormous hit. From day one, it was just profitable, full hit.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant times.
How did you get into doing your first business? Starting that up in a country that you're not a native of. I imagine it must be difficult.
Yeah, it was my girlfriend at the time, her mum was a restaurateur.
Okay.
And she came up with she wanted to do a restaurant. And I sort of said, well, let's be really silly here and let's make it vegetarian because no one else is doing it. And we had shouting matches. She's like, you want to throw away your money? You know, Russians love their meat, which is true.
Yeah.
But there was enough people, and certainly the expat community, foreign students, there was enough people who would, like I said, you know, patronise our restaurant. So we did it. And yeah, there's some good stories to tell. I mean, you open a cafe bar, restaurant bar, anything like that in Russia, you need, you know, the mob to be on your side. You need what's called in Russia a krysha, which means roof, someone to protect you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have protection, then on day one of you opening your cafe or bar, someone's going to come in and offer their services, and it's going to be the wrong people.
Yeah.
So this sounds really crazy, but we interviewed different mafia groups. I'm not even joking. I'm not even security companies. We took references about these people, and we chose this guy Roma and his organisation, ex-KGB guy. He's got a security firm. He'll provide 2 doormen, but that's part of the deal. He had to have his guys on the door, and it was a case of if someone comes in, and this happened on day one. The day we opened, some mobster came in, went up to the till, and said, "Who's the manager?" I said, "Okay, who's protecting you?" We handed them a card with the name of Roma. He left and never came back. But you had to have those guys, and yes, they take a percentage of profit or whatever agreement you come to, but they genuinely do protect you.
How do you find these people? I mean, have they got like websites you go to, like local mafias?
Well, yeah. I mean, back in the day, it was. I mean, this is pre-internet, what have you. It was just word on the street. You asked around, so you literally went to the competition and said, "By the way, who's your krysha? Who's looking after you?" And you know, these guys had companies, had legal setups. They would say, "We're not mafia, we're not mobsters, we're security consultants." Now, in reality, the difference isn't great. But they sort of said to me, "Stephen, right, we're now part of the family. If you ever any personal problems, if you know, it's useless calling the police. You just call us." And they gave me a number. And on one occasion, we did. I called them, and within 7 minutes, they're there, sorting out what the problem was. And I thought on this occasion, it was a guy trying to break into our apartment. So it's how things were. I'm sure it's different now. You wouldn't call the Russian police if there was a problem.
It's like sort of lots of different little mini polices.
It is, and you know, it's not something you choose, but you know, like I said, the moment you want to set up a bar in Russia, you need protection.
Yeah, it's
just how it is.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll think about that when I next step a Russian bar.
But honestly, I tell these stories about mafia and mobsters and what.
Yeah.
Russia it's a beautiful country.
I'd love to go.
That I love very much, and you know, you talk about it, and you think mafia, you think Putin, you think that the madness of the Stalin and the 20th century, but I absolutely love the Russian people,
and it feels a really very strong culturally.
It is
obviously, and a lot of great art and literature and things like that. A passion for chess.
And I tell you, and one little story to show how it is in Russia. So when I was living in St. Petersburg, and I was 28 years old, I got a season ticket for Zenit St. Petersburg. So to this day, it's my second club. It's my foreign club. And I used to hang out, not with their ultras, but almost ultras. You know, with some guys who, the match day, you go down the penalty bars, no longer there. You drink 8 pints. They suddenly realised, what's an English guy amongst us? And they loved that.
Yeah.
They loved that. So they'd practice their English. They'd be asking, they assumed that, because I'm a 28-year-old guy watching Zenit, that I must know what gear, what sneakers do you wear, what labels do you wear? And they'd be asking me all these questions, assuming that I'm an ultra, you know what I mean, that I'm a hooligan, which I never was. But I'd go along to these Zenit games. It was all about the booze and not really about the football.
Yeah.
Great atmosphere at the old Petrovsky Stadium. But my mate Alyosha, he was sat, we're watching the game, most of the time talking football, but he turned to the guy next to him, who's just, like I said, an ultra, and they start talking about the opera that they went to at the weekend, the night before. No, I'm not even kidding. They were at, the Mariinsky Theatre the night before, and there was a new singer, and I just thought that's amazing. These guys who, if that was England, you wouldn't get Bolton fans talking about the opera, the ballet, no offence to Bolton.
Yeah.
But Russia's so cultural. It's football one day, and then opera, and then theatre, and then they'll talk about Dostoevsky, and they can switch between all those things effortlessly.
Yeah. I find it's so different football in different countries. I remember going into flying over. No, it wasn't even interviewing. He was doing some filming with Falcao when he was at Atletico Madrid before he came over to England, and I was just literally filming and recording one little thing for a brand, and while I was there, just as we were getting set up, I was chatting to his mate. He'd come over, and his mate, they'd played together in South America or something like that. He was a footballer as well, and he'd come over, and they were saying, like, I was saying, what are you doing while you're over here? And he's saying, oh, well, there's this art exhibition we both want to go and see there.
Yeah.
And this guy was speaking 3 languages, like Falcao was speaking 3 different languages as well, sort of thinking, I don't reckon if we got Wayne Rooney's mate came over, then you're going to see an art gallery and multilingual sort of thing. It seems very, I don't know, it just seems different. I don't know why.
It is different. And the other day I was playing Clash of the Creators, and I was one of the managers because I was injured like I am today.
Yeah.
David James was one of the other managers, and I'd remembered some interview that he was into his art. So went up to him, and the first thing I said was, he's still painting? And we just chatted next 20 minutes, this former England goalkeeper, just chatting about his art and about how he's painting, and he's got, a room stacked full of his paintings that he doesn't want to show anyone and all this. And I think it's brilliant when you've got someone who, you're meant to be a thick footballer who's only interested in birds and, football and FIFA 20. But no, he's interested in art. And Graham Lasseau I met. I played cricket with Graham Lasseau. He's interested, he's used to read The Guardian, he's into literature, and I love it when people cross boundaries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They fall outside the stereotype. And I love football. And I suppose what a lot of people know about me, Thogdad, is, beer review, bullet header.
Yeah.
I love art. I love going to art galleries.
Yeah.
And seeing, whenever I go to a new city, I'll go to the National Gallery there.
Yeah.
But I'll also try and find some quirky bohemian gallery that's showing some odd art by some weirdo. And I love that,
A theatre? You a theatre fan?
The thing is, I was brought up in Lancaster.
Yeah.
And the nearest we got to that was, the Duke's Playhouse. It's, the local amateur group.
Yeah.
So I wasn't brought up around much theatre.
Yeah.
But I did English literature to A level, and so I'd go to as much theatre as I could, and I loved it. It was only when I moved to Moscow when I was 25 that I went to my first ballet performance and my first opera performance, and it happened to be at the Bolshoi Theatre. So it's like, you see your first ballet and it's at the bloody Bolshoi.
Yeah.
The best.
It's like watching your first game of the Nou Camp.
And it's astonishing, honestly. And I've, recently, about 10 years ago, I went to see Ruslan and Ludmilla, which is a mixture of opera and ballet. I swear it went on for 6 hours. It had 4 breaks. It was sensational. Wow. And I loved every single second of being in that theatre watching it. And I surprised myself by saying that.
Yeah.
But Thogmam left early with the kids because it's like, we can't keep the kids in here for 6 hours,
Yeah.
So, little doggy.
It's all right.
It's all right.
Hello.
Hello. It's all right.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I got into theatre late.
Yes.
In that I'd just gone to the wrong theatre when I was younger, and I thought I didn't like theatre, which is an idiotic thing to say, because it's like saying you don't like music or films, or none of it, sort of thing. And then now I've gone to a lot more, and it's my birthday in April, and I'm just organising a trip to see Wuthering Heights at Norwich Theatre Royal.
Brilliant.
For that sort of thing. And I just love the variety of stuff and seeing things. I like.
Oh, sorry, parakeet. I've got to show you that. Can you hear that?
Okay.
That is. I'll come back to that in a sec. But it's like a parakeet.
Yeah.
And they live here in the hundreds. There's colonies of them in London. You've probably seen them in other
I've
parts
seen
of
them
London.
around, This was in Kent.
But they've got that distinctive noise and the green. Sorry, you were saying about.
But the first time I saw a parakeet, I was like, oh my God, someone's parrots escaped.
I know.
I didn't know it was like a wild thing.
Yeah.
It's like
There's all sorts of legends about how did parakeets come to London, and one is that Jimi Hendrix had a couple, and he got stoned and released them, and they bred, and that's one of those urban myths.
True.
I hope it's true.
That's
we
true.
got another doggy coming to say hello.
Hello,
Hello,
doggy.
hello, Dodge. Hello.
Oh,
It's all right. It's
there
all
we go.
right. Hello, sweetheart. You're lovely. You are. You're lovely. You are.
You got any pets?
Sadly, no. I mean, we've got Thogdad. My mum's got Thogdad, two dogs. Beautiful border collie.
Yeah.
Who I think I mentioned earlier has got like 10,000
Yeah.
subscribers on Instagram in this mad social media
Yeah.
world. But going back to sort of theatre and what have you, both my kids are massively into that. Theo, I swear, could have been on the stage. He's chosen the whole YouTube thing. Brilliant. He was the guy who was always selected to play the lead part in plays, just naturally gifted. I mean, when I was a kid, I wouldn't have had... I was just a shy introvert.
Yeah, I would have had the
no
confidence.
way I'd have the confidence to go on stage. But both my kids, Seema and Theo, both have been on stage. And Theo became a celebrity in Russia during the World Cup in 2018.
Yeah.
It's a funny old story. A year later, a filmmaker in Russia called Denis Kudrashov wrote a film, and the lead part was basically Theo.
Yeah.
And invited Theo back to Moscow just pre-lockdown to film this short film, this 30-minute film called Fair Play. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And Theo played the lead part. I played an extra. I played an English football hooligan, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I love the whole creative world. I love people like yourself who are out there saying, you know what, I've got my camera, let's just create something.
Yeah.
Or I've got a paintbrush, or I've got a pen. You know, I love people who are out there trying to create.
It's good, and it's something that I think when you're younger, you're a bit worried about doing stuff. You think, what people are going to think.
Yeah.
What people are going to think about it. And then you sort of realise that no one's thinking about you. No one cares.
They're not.
No one's that. You sort of think, if I do this, people say, then you do it. And they're like, oh, right, fine.
Absolutely, and I think more people, and we sort of touched upon this earlier, I mean, it was a really sad once. I was at a football game, I won't say which city, and I met a young lady in her 20s who knew a lot about the team that we were going to watch. And I said to her, look, you are so well spoken about this team, you need to set up a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And she said, I did that once at school, but I was bullied out of it. She said, you know what the state schools are like in this country.
Yeah.
I thought that was the saddest thing I'd ever heard. She could have been, you know, a stunt peg or a Thogdad, you know, if she hadn't been bullied out of doing this creative stuff when she was a teenager. So I think you need an environment where you're not going to get bullied or dissuaded from doing what you love. You know, if you want to write poetry or make a vlog or get on the stage, you don't want everyone sort of saying it's brilliant. When if something's crap, you need someone nicely to explain that maybe you should do things in a different way.
Yeah.
But just to throw hate at someone to stop them doing it, I find...
I definitely wouldn't have had the confidence when I was younger. And
No.
so a lot of the parenting I do now is trying to instill confidence. It's the thing I'm doing most of the time. Like being sort of positive. Like you mentioned that Theo and his sister turned out to would have been very confident to do things like that on stage. What do you think has led to that?
Well, I think it's a really sad thing. So until the age of 8 or 9, we lived in Manchester. And my kids went to the local state school, and it was great. I get the feeling that if Theo had stayed in Manchester and had just gone to the local comp and had done the Thogdad channel, possibly he wouldn't have had the support network around him. And there'd be the sort of, you know, the loudmouths are like, you know, do you think you're better than us? Why are you doing this channel thing?
Yeah.
And it's a sad thing to say, but I think, you know, if you've been brought up in Bolton, Oldham, Manchester, some of the places where my family's from, it just might not have happened. Maybe I'm wrong. But, you know, the example I've just gave about that girl in another city, I think that's really sad when that happens. You need a support network. So we came down to London, and Theo was surrounded by people who looked at his channel. He got to 100 subscribers and then 1,000. And just had nice people around him saying, you know what, Theo, you're good at this. Stick at it. Try going to a Bolton game. Try going to an England game.
Yeah.
And you need that. You know, your parents are always going to love you and support you, I hope, you know. But it needs to be teachers, your schoolmates, the wider community. And, you know, around here, Hampstead, West Hampstead, North London, it's creative, it's supportive. And, you know, if you come up with a crazy business idea or a creative idea, there'll be someone to back it.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing thing about this city we're in.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I'm a northerner, I'm from Lancaster, I'm from North Lancashire. But I couldn't do what I've done in Lancaster. I needed to be in places like London and Moscow and New York.
Yeah. Amazing.
You know.
Yeah, I love it. I love how I love how you embrace things. I like how you get involved and go out into the world, because there's a lot of stuff going on these days of I feel trying to make us more insular in the country sort of thing, and I sort of kind of feel sorry for people like that, because I think there's so much out there you can go and see and do and all that.
It's incredible. There's so many wonderful things out there, and one thing we've tried to do in our videos on the Thogdad channel is be positive.
Yeah.
Well, there's two things I'll talk about. One, and you mentioned this earlier, sorry, is that we always try to bring other people into the video. And I think, and as with your videos are all about, it's not just Robbie, well, sometimes it's about Robbie talking. Yeah. A lot of the time it's about bringing other people in. Yeah. And you're obviously interested in other people and new ideas and what have you. So I think that's massive.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we so when we go to a game, it's a case of, you know, here's Rob, he's a Newport fan, mate, what's going to happen today?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that is essential.
Yeah, and you talk about your positivity, and I think that's...
and that is the second thing, is the positivity.
Yeah.
We, occasionally we'll slag off a striker who's missed an easy chance, but on the whole, we're being nice.
Yeah.
We're being nice about people, about other teams.
Yeah.
We're being positive, we're trying to smile, you know.
It's easy to slag things off. It's harder to be positive.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be funny to be negative, and it can create great content in some ways. But it's, I don't know, if you're negative too often, it wears you down as a person. I remember, it's something I really learned at Soccer AM, where that was obviously, it was always very positive. I mean, you sort of make fun of things, but it was in a positive light. And, and the example I always think of in that is, I remember us getting a clip of the most ridiculous dive a player made ever. And the obvious thing there would be to slag him off for diving. Yeah.
But what we were doing was basically saying, look at this, that's the worst challenge I've ever seen. Just go, this guy should get a ban for life for this sort of thing. And doing that, and just taking that different angle of still showing something that is funny, but not hammering that person in particular, and make it more of a sort of jokey sort of element of it. And I think positivity is important.
It is, and certainly over the last couple of years during this lockdown.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked earlier, you know, lockdown started, and for a week or two, Theo and I were thinking, what do we do now? Because our content was all about going to games, live games, talking to people, bringing them in. Suddenly you're told, no, you can't go around, you can't be near people.
Yeah.
Certainly there's going to be no football, and after a while it's behind closed doors. So we just thought, we have to do something to create entertainment for people, and I'm sure we were all the same.
Yeah.
Content providers had to get content out there. It became more important during lockdown because everyone was bored senseless in their houses.
Yeah.
So we just went out there and just created stuff from our lounge, just because people needed entertaining. And at times we were like, you know, and my view was, you know, so long as people are smiling, laughing, I don't care if they're laughing at me or with me. You know, During lockdown, we just, as a society, we just needed to have something out there to just make us laugh and
I think so.
Engage with. And social media, I think, became really important.
Yeah, and it's not something I ever thought when I started doing YouTube that it would help people, because it is just a lot of nonsense of them. I did get so many lovely messages from people.
So did I, so did I. DMs from people talking about their mental health and about how it hit low levels, but that, you know, Theo and my content really just brought them up a level, and people even said, I'm not sure if I would have got through it without you, which
it's lovely to hear.
It is lovely to hear. Yeah. And, you know, that's the sort of thing that keeps you going, the positive things. And obviously 1% is just, oh, you fucking nonsense, didn't block, you know. But 99% was beautiful, you know. And it keeps you going, it makes it worthwhile. And do you feel the same? I mean, what are your DMs like?
They're all lovely generally, it's just people being nice, because there's not much to object to with my stuff. I'm not really... I mean, with football, it's there's always going to be someone who's annoyed by things, but
exactly.
But no, it's just generally very nice people. And I always thought of YouTube as being this sort of cesspit of abuse sort of thing before I started doing it. But everyone's lovely.
Oh, that's Twitter you're talking about.
Yeah, very much so. Amazing.
But it's not. I mean, I tell you what, the YouTube community. I mean, Theo's introduced me to it over the last few years. I mean, 7 years ago, I could probably name what Zoella. You know, I've heard of her, and maybe KSI.
Yeah.
Now we've got this community where we all meet each other all the time, don't we? We all play in the same charity football games and what have you, and we all collaborate with each other. And it's brilliant. I think, you know, 95% of the time it's a really nice, supportive community.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that attracts me to it. Is it is collaborative, and people will help each other. There's that general sense of like a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah,
sort of
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the occasional YouTube beef, but even then, it's sometimes manufactured, isn't it? You know, and diss track season and all that.
Absolutely, I'd like a beef at some point to do a diss track, but I lack enemies.
That can be arranged.
Okay, let's sort it.
Should we do that? Yeah.
Well, us. Or against someone.
We can
we'll
do one
team up
against.
on someone.
Actually, no, you're too nice. People.
I know that's the problem. Yeah.
You can't. Yeah, you can't make a diss track. You do a diss track about Jack, mate, because you know.
Yeah, but he's my boss at happy hour.
So that's true. Yeah. Okay, we'll do that.
We'll do that. Right. We carry on walking.
Let's do it. Yeah.
You got some local facts, Thogdad?
Absolutely, mate. Well, I've got a question for you. Look around here, particularly at that row of beautiful, what are they, sort of Victorian houses, but also at these lockups here. And tell me, do you recognise these lockups and a clue? Ricky Gervais.
Afterlife.
Yes, Afterlife. So, Afterlife, the homeless guy who has an overdosed in here, and a lot of the scenes with the sex worker with Ricky Gervais's character are set around here. And you know, it goes back to Hampstead. It's so often it's a film set or a
amazing.
Yeah.
A little local tour.
Absolutely, mate. And then up here, this is lovely, the old Wells and Camden bathhouses. And in Victorian times, if you were down on your luck, if you were, you know, moving from place to place, you could come here, get a wash and what have you, and yeah, I think it's just someone's house now.
Thogdad, it's been a great walk, and all great walks should end in a pub.
Very rude not to. I tell you, mate, we are in the Flask in Hampstead, which is one of the nicest pubs in London. And I tell you what, it's got real traditions, real left of centre traditions. So you get the likes of Michael Foot, you know, politicians like this, and academics who'd sit in here and solve all the world's problems over a pint of Young's. So should we give it a go? It's the winter warmer. 5%, let's give it a go.
A little cask pint. This is the kind of thing, there's no way I'd order this in the summer, but it's absolutely glorious.
That is a really good pint, isn't it?
Really
flavoursome, well done, Young's. Giving that 7.2 out of 10.
Nice.
Sorry, it was a Thogdad beer review. It's
I like
automatic.
to. You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. I'm honoured to be in the presence of seeing it happen live.
Absolutely, but you know, this is the sort of place when my family's over from America or got friends in town, I bring them here.
Yeah.
This is your traditional sort of saloon bar, you know, with your wood panelling. Meet some great characters in here. You've got the fireplace over there. Decent pint, proper pint. You know what I mean?
Do you enjoy a pint on your own ever? Are you
Yes.
Are you a drink alone man? Not in
no,
a bad way. Just an occasional pint.
I prefer to be with someone.
Yeah.
You know, I do like the conversation.
Yeah.
But occasionally, you know what it's like. You might have your copy of Private Eye or your iPad, and you just want to sit somewhere, have a couple of pints, be left alone.
Yeah.
And this is ideal for me.
Marvellous. Well,
and actually in here you will meet people you never met before. It's that sort of place. It's
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming out.
Mate, it's my pleasure.
It's been an absolute joy, and I imagine this will not be, hopefully, the last pint we ever share together.
Absolutely. Let's drink to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you, Thogdad. If people have enjoyed you and want to know more about you, how do they find you? Thogdad on all social medias?
There is, I'm at Thogdad on Twitter, at Thogdad on Instagram. But check out the Thogdad YouTube channel.
And check the future Netflix special where we go travelling together.
Let's make it happen.
Go on, Netflix.
See you.